Hi, everyone. This is going to be the teacher station notes for area. This is for stop 3, pit stop 3 in the chapter 9 geometry section. Area of parallelograms, triangles, and trapezoids. So first thing we have to do is take a look at our shapes and see if we can identify each shape. So what do you think this one is? It's got 3 sides and 3 angles. It's a triangle. That one's pretty familiar to you. Triangle, 3 sides, 3 angles. How about B? So B looks like it has parallel sides here and here. So that side, that pair of sides is parallel, and it looks like the top and the bottom are also parallel. So this is a special shape called a parallelogram, and squares and rectangles are also parallelograms. And the last shape is maybe new to us. On this one, it also has 4 sides. The top and the bottom are parallel. But the 2 sides, if I extended these sides out into infinity, these sides would intersect. So they are not parallel. So one set of opposite sides is parallel. The other set of opposite sides is not. And this is a very special 4-sided figure called a trapezoid. Okay. Let's try a couple, another set. Let's look at A. So this one, 4-sided figure, 1, 2, 3, 4 sides. Looks like these 2 opposite sides are parallel, but these 2 opposite sides are not parallel. If I extended these sides out into infinity, these sides would intersect somewhere out here. So this is not a parallelogram. This is a trapezoid. Okay, and on number B, B is a 3-sided figure, 1, 2, 3, and it has 3 angles, So it's a triangle. This one has some information on it. So it has a little ticky mark on these 2 sides. That indicates that these 2 sides are equal length. And it only has 1 ticky mark on, so the number of ticky marks is the same. So that means that they're equal. And then it has this little arc in these corners. And that indicates that these 2 angles are also equal. So this is a special kind of triangle. You learned about it in classifying triangles in the last stop. So this one is a isosceles triangle. 2 equal sides, 2 equal angles. And letter C. Letter C has these 2 sides, the top and the bottom, opposite sides. They both have 1 ticky mark on it, says that they're equal. And they look like they are parallel. So if I extended them out into infinity, they look like they would never intersect. Now, the other 2 sides have 2 ticky marks, indicating that they are also equal. And these sides, if I extended them out into infinity, they also look like they are parallel. So this is a parallelogram. But if you look at it as the big picture, I mean, this looks familiar to you. It could be like a football field, or it could be, I don't know, a soccer field or something like that. But it's a rectangle. We recognize this one. It's a rectangle. It could also, if these 2 sides were the same length as these 2 sides, if all 4 sides were the same length, it could be a square. But all 3 of those shapes, square, rectangle, parallelogram, would be the same. They would have the same formula for calculating area, which is what we're going to do. So each one of our shapes has its own formula that we're going to look at. And here are the 3 formulas. So you know that a square has the formula the base times the height. The area is the length times the width, or the base times the height. And so we're going to say right off the bat that this formula for area right here goes to our parallelogram. Okay, then we have we know that a triangle, if we had a triangle, we would, and we doubled it, but a triangle is actually the half of a parallelogram, or the half of a rectangle, or half of a square. That would, if we divided our parallelogram or square in half, then we would have the area of a triangle. And so this formula right here would be the area of a triangle. Okay. And the last one, this big guy, gigantic one here, the area of a trapezoid, this is our last figure, is 1/2 times the base B1 plus the base B2, and that's inside parentheses, times the height. And so on this is our trapezoid right here. So this formula goes with this guy right here. And the bottom is going to be base 1, and the top is going to be base 2. That's the way I always do it. You can switch them. It doesn't matter, 1 and 2. The main thing that you have to know is that the height has to be measured from the perpendicular of one of the bases. And sometimes it's perpendicular to both bases. Sometimes it's only perpendicular to one. And so you have to pick. Base 1 and base 2 are the sides that are parallel to one another, and the other two sides are not parallel. Okay, so let's go in and practice calculating some of these areas. So first one, find the area of the shape below. Well, let's figure out what the shape is. So it has 4 sides, 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like the opposite sides are parallel, and the top and the bottom are parallel. So this is a parallelogram. Okay, so let's take a look. The area of a parallelogram, area, is just like the area of a square or a rectangle, base times the height. Okay, so I always start out by writing down my formula. Area equals BH, or base times height. So what is the base and the height on this picture? So remember I told you that on parallelograms, the height has to be measured as the perpendicular to one of the bases. And so here, this little pink line right here has the indication that this is a 90-degree angle. And so this pink line is perpendicular to this side. And so we're going to call 2.5 meters is our base, and our height of a parallelogram is that distance measured perpendicular to the base to the top of the figure, so 1.8 meters. All right, so you remember when you go to the doctor to get your height measured, he doesn't let you stand sideways. You have to stand straight up and down to measure from the bottom of your feet to the top of your head. So that's what's happening here. We're measuring from the base of this figure to the top of the figure. Okay, so the base is 2.5, so I'm going to add that to my formula, 2.5. And the height is 1.8. And we're going to multiply those together. So there's what I have so far. And you can, on a piece of paper, you can work alongside and see if you can get the same answer as me. So I'm going to multiply those two numbers together, 2.5 times 1.8. 8 times 5 is 40. Carry the 4. 8 times 2 is 16 plus 4 is 20. Then I start with a 0. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 2 is 2. And so I add those numbers together, and I get 450. But remember, I have to count the number of decimal places when I multiply, and I move my decimal point from the right to the left that many places. So I have 1, 2 decimal places, and I'm going to count 1, 2. And so my answer for area is equal to 4.5. And the units, if I just highlight that right there, my units are meters. And when we do area, it's always units squared. So here's my answer. Area, here's my calculation. I multiplied 2.5 times 1.8, and I got 4.5. So area equals 4.5 meters squared. Don't forget to put your units. always put units, and it's going to be units squared for area. Okay. Let's try another one. Find the area of the shape below. Okay, this one is a three-sided figure. So we're going to find the area of this three-sided figure that we know is a triangle. And so the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. So I always start out by writing my formula so I can fill in the things that I know. Okay, so let's look at the figure. So remember, height is always going to be measured as a perpendicular to one of the bases. So it's not this slanted height, not this this number that's a slope on the triangle. We have to measure from the base perpendicular straight up to the top of the figure. And so height on this figure is 4, and the base that we use to measure the height is 12. So I'm going to put that into my equation. 1/2 times 12. 12 is the base, and the height is 4. So that's what I have so far. 1/2, 12 times 4. All right. So we know that multiplication is associative and commutative. That means that we can multiply in any order. So I'm going to start out by multiplying 1/2 times 12, or that's the same as 12 divided by 2. So that's 12 divided by 2 is 6, and 6 times 4 is 24. So the area is equal to 24. And what are the units on this? So we weren't given any units. You can't just leave them off. We have to say, we don't know what the units are, but to make sure that you indicate that the area is a square unit. So we're just going to say U for units and put a square next to it. Units squared. Okay, so units squared, or units to the power of 2. A equals 24 square units. Okay, let's look at the next one. Okay, this one says, find the area of the shape below. And this is a four-sided figure. So we have to look at it a little more closely and decide what kind of figure it is. So it looks like the top and the bottom are parallel, but the two sides look like they would intersect up here somewhere. These are not parallel. So this is not a parallelogram. This is a trapezoid. So the area for a trapezoid is equal to 1/2 times B1 for base 1 plus B2, and that's in parentheses, B1 and B2, base 1 and base 2, inside parentheses, times H. So that's what I have so far. My formula is area equals 1/2 B1 plus B2 times H. Okay, so let's figure out what we're going to put into this formula to solve for area. Okay, so remember, height of our figures has to be measured perpendicular to one of the bases. So this measurement right here is going to be our height. So 5 centimeters is our height. But because it's perpendicular to this side right here, we're going to say that 12 is base 1. So I'm going to write down 12 for base 1. So if base 1 is 12, the opposite side, the parallel side to 12, is 8. So B2 is 8. I'm going to put that in my formula. And we said that the height measured perpendicular to base 1 is 5. So the height is 5. So here's what I have. Area equals 1/2 times 12 plus 8 inside of parentheses plus 5. Okay, so remember, PEMDAS tells us parentheses first. So we have to add 12 plus 8. So 12 plus 8 is 20. And that gives me 1/2 times 20 times 5. And half of 20, let's show you what I got so far. 1/2 of 20 times 5. So 20 divided by 2 is 10. And 10 times 5 is 50. So that's going to be my answer. A equals 50. And the units are centimeters. So centimeters squared. So here's my total calculation. The area equals 1/2 times B1 plus B2, that in parentheses, times H. So my B1 was 12, my B2 is 8. I added those together to get 20. Remember, parentheses is first. 1/2 times 20, or 20 divided by 2, is 10. And 10 times 5 is 50. So A equals 50 centimeters squared. Okay? Let's take a look at the next one. Next one is find the area of the shape below. So this is another three-sided figure. The figure that we're finding the area for is the solid lines. Okay? So it's a triangle. All right? So we're finding the area inside the solid lines. Now, this is a obtuse triangle. So this angle here is greater than 90 degrees. So we have to extend the sides out so that we can find the height. Our base is the side down here, so 14 meters is our base. But to find the height of the shape, we have to have a perpendicular measurement from the base to the top of the figure. And so our height is 10 meters. All right, so let's write down our area formula. Area for a triangle equals 1/2 base times height. And I'm going to start filling in. So area equals 1/2, and we said the base was 14, and the height is 10. Okay, so this is what I have written down so far. I always start with my formula and fill in what I need to know. Area equals 1/2 times the base of 14 times the height is 10. And now I can multiply. 1/2 times 14, or 14 divided by 2, is 7. 7 times 10 is 70. So area equals 70. And my units are meters. And area is always going to be units squared. So meters squared. So area equals 70 square meters. Okay. Next one. Okay. Find the area of this shape below. Let's take a look at this shape. It's a four-sided figure. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it has two sides that look like they are parallel. And the base and the top sides look like they are also parallel. So far, so good. I think this is a parallelogram. So we need to know base times height. So the area of our parallelogram is base times height. Now, let's see. Do we know what we need to know? I don't see anything on this picture that says that there is a perpendicular measurement to either one of the bases. So I don't know if this 14 is the perpendicular or if it's the measure of this side. So I'm going to say we don't have enough information. We know the base is 30, but we don't have any idea what the height is perpendicular from the base to the top of the figure. So we're just going to say on this one, we can't do this one. This is not possible. We don't have enough information. All right, well, let's erase. Let's keep going. How about this one? Okay, this one's a four-sided figure. And it looks like the top and the bottom are parallel. So we have four sides, 2, 3, 4. The top and the bottom look like they're parallel. And the two sides are not parallel. Okay, so this one's a trapezoid. Area of a trapezoid is 1/2 times the quantity of B1 plus B2. So B1 and B2 are inside parentheses, times H. All right, do we have all we need? All right, so we have the area, we have the length of B1, we have the length of B2, those are our parallel sides. Then we have a side that is perpendicular, it's got this little angle in the corner. So this line, this side right here is perpendicular to both bases, and that is 4 meters. And so this is the height of our trapezoid. The measurement that's perpendicular to the base all the way up to the top of the figure. So that's 4 meters. I think we have enough to solve this one. So area equals, I'm going to fill in what I know now. Base 1 is 8, and base 2 is 5. So I got that from these bases. Base 1 is 8, base 2 is 5, and the height, we said, is 4 meters. Okay, so here's what I've written so far. Start with writing my formula. Area equals 1/2 the quantity B1 plus B2 times H. That's the area of a trapezoid. And then I start plugging in what I know. Area equals 1/2 times 8 plus 5 times 4. And PEMDAS says, do the parentheses first. So 1/2 times 8 plus 5 is 13 times 4. Okay? And multiplication is associative and commutative, so I can do these in any order. And I'm going to multiply 1/2 times 4, because it's an even number. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then 2 times 13 is 26. So area equals 26. And my units are meters squared. So here we go. And I did 1/2 times 4. 1/2 times 4 is the same as 4 divided by 2. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And 2 times 13 is 26. So area equals 26 meters squared. All right. We're cruising. Now, the problems are changing a little bit. So we're going to be giving you different kinds of ways to use area. Sometimes we'll ask you to calculate the area. Sometimes we'll ask you to calculate a missing piece of information. That would be a lot of times something that we have in real life. We know what the area of something is, but we need to calculate one of the sides or the height or something. Okay, so that's a real life kind of a problem. And here we have a 3-sided figure, 1, 2, 3, 3 angles, 1, 2, 3. So this is a triangle. The area of a triangle, I always start here. Area equals 1/2 base times height. Okay, let's see what they gave us. They gave us H is perpendicular. This is this height, the perpendicular height of this triangle going from the base to the top of the figure, but they didn't tell us a number. It's just a variable H. And the base is 21, and they gave us the area is equal to 126 meters. So I start out with my formula. Area equals 1/2 base times height. And I'm going to start plugging in what I know. We know that A is 126 equals 1/2 times the base is 21. And H, I don't know that one yet. Okay. So we have a couple of ways that we can solve this problem. For me, I like to get rid of fractions first. So on one side, I'm multiplying by 1/2. What's the opposite of multiplying by 1/2? It's multiplying by 1/2 is the same thing as dividing by 2, right? So the opposite of dividing by 2 is multiplying by 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. So I'll cut it in half, and I'm going to multiply both sides times 2. So that gives me 256 equals 21H. Okay, So when I multiply by 2 on this side, I had 1/2 times 2. That's the same as 1. But I have to do the same thing on this side. I have to multiply by 2. 2 times 126 is 252, not 256, 252. And now I cut it in half and I divide both sides by 21. Okay, 252 divided by 21. So 21 goes into 25 one time, so 1 times 21 is 21, and I subtract, and I get 42. And 21 goes into 42 2 times, so 2 times 21 is 42, and that gives me 0. So H equals 12, and it's square meters, so H must be in meters, so 12 meters. Remember, area is square units, and the units are what all of the other measurements are. So here I got it. I have 126 equals 1/2 times 21H. I multiplied by both sides by 2, and I got 252 equals 21H. Cut it in half, inverse operation. I did 252 divided by 21, and H equals 12 meters. Okay, let's see, we got one more. Find the height. So I'm going to let you guys work on this one. This one's a parallelogram. And remember, the area of a parallelogram is base times height. So we'll start there. And you see if you can calculate it. We're looking for the height. Okay, did you get H equals 4 inches? Okay, here's how I calculated it. Area equals base times height. And they gave us the area is 24 square inches. Right here, they gave us that. And they gave us the base is 6 inches. And so I wrote 24 equals 6 times H, cut in half, divided both sides by 6, and H equals 4, and my units are inches, 4 inches. Okay, let's see, one more. Find the height of this 4-sided figure. Okay, this one, 4 sides, but the opposite sides here are not parallel. They're going to intersect up here. So this is a trapezoid. The area of a trapezoid equals 1/2 times B1 plus B2 times H. So here's my formula. Always start out with a formula. 1/2 B1 plus B2 times H. And now I start plugging in. They give me the area of 36. 36 equals 1/2. And they give me the base. B1 is 7. B2 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 12. And let's do the whole thing so you can see it. 7 plus 5. And H I don't know. So 36 equals 1/2 times 12H. And so what I have here is 36 equals, what's 1/2 times 12? 12 divided by 2 is 6. 6H. So then I'm going to cut it in half, divide by 6 on both sides, and H equals 6. And my units are, area is square feet, so H must be in feet. So there's the solution for this problem right there. Start out with the formula. Area equals 1/2 times the quantity B1 plus B2 times h. B1 and B2 are 7 and 5. We don't know what h is. So 36 equals 1/2 times 12 times h. So 1/2 times 12, that one gives us 6. 12 divided by 2 is 6. And then I cut the equation in half. I divide both sides by 6 to get h all by itself. And h equals 6. And my units are feet. Okay, that's it for calculating problems with area on triangles, parallelograms, and trapezoids. Have a great day.